Welcome to Perspectives with Wenchi Yu, where we discuss Trump 2.0's policies and politics and their implications for Asia, Taiwan, and beyond. A landmark U.S.-Taiwan investment agreement announced in January included a pledge by Taiwan that its companies would invest $250 billion to boost production of semiconductors, energy, and artificial intelligence in the U.S. Taiwan would collaborate with U.S. authorities to facilitate additional new greenfield and brownfield investments in strategic high-tech manufacturing sectors. As Donald Trump's second term accelerates the push to make it in America, Taiwan's world-class manufacturers find themselves at the center of a historic reshuffling of the global supply chain. To understand how Taiwanese businesses respond, my guest today is Wesley Chu. Drawing on his years of experience as Foxconn's General Counsel and his current research at Stanford Law School, Wesley explains how rising cross-strait risks and U.S. national security demands are forcing Taiwanese companies to rethink their old low-margin OEM model and what it really takes to survive in the high-cost United States. From AI servers and drones to one world, two systems production lines, and a desperately needed Taiwan tech firewall, Wesley lays out a blunt insider view of how Taiwan can move from made in Taiwan to made with Taiwan, and why the island must become a true silicon hub. Let's hear Wesley's perspective. Welcome, Wesley. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background and especially your experience in the business sector in Taiwan.
Hi, Wenchi. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to join your podcast. And before I came to US, I work in Foxconn. It's one of the biggest manufacturer in Asia. In 2024, I came to US and become a visiting scholar at Stanford Law School. And my research is more focused on AI regulation policy and the global supply chain policy and compliance. 2019, I co-founded AI and Law Research Foundation in Taiwan. 2023, we draft the first version of Taiwan AI Basic Law. And this act already passed the end of 2025 and became Taiwan's AI Basic Law. This year we have a new project. It's focused on made in USA, because we know President Trump is trying to bring a new factory factory back to the USA.
That's why we want to talk to you about this. We've seen quite a lot of activities between U.S. and Taiwan when it comes to trade since Trump returned to power last year. And more recently, there's an investment announcement. So Taiwanese basically have to invest at least $250 billion into the United States to help expand the advanced chips, energy, AI product, and R&D capacity. And in addition to that, Taiwan also needs to provide around $250 billion in credit guarantees to support additional investment by its companies. What does this deal mean, and how is it received in Taiwan, especially by companies?
Yeah, I think it's not a perfect deal, but it's workable or acceptable deal. Because
why do you say it's not a perfect deal? What would be a perfect deal?
The first option is one can keep all the industry, like semiconductor, in Taiwan. We call it like make in Taiwan. But I think I'm going
to challenge you, because even companies like TSMC said that being closer to their clients is better for them.
Yeah, I think it's complicated because TSMC set up the factory in US. There's several different reasons. The biggest issue is like national security of US. But also the second reason is the customer's strong demand. But US have very high operation cost. So from the operation perspective, US will not be the first choice of a company to set up a factory, because the cost is too high. And there's a very comprehensive like compliance legal framework. Tax is really high. From the business perspective, US is not the first choice, but we still need to face the reality, because the first, I think there's three reality Taiwanese company or government need to face. First is the cross-strait risk is rising, and China is no longer a reliable market. And the second is Taiwan's national security and the economic security are now closely tied to the United States. And the third one is under these conditions, Taiwan has limited room to refuse U.S. requests for supply chain relocation and co-manufacturing. So this is the reality. And there's several benefits for Taiwan. The first is because 15 tariff and without NFN staking, plus Taiwan on a similar position with Japan and Korea in the U.S. market. That is really important because Japan and Korea is always the main competitor of Taiwan because our product is really similar. And also, Taiwan does not have the free trade agreement, FTA, with U.S., but Japan and Korea do. So the tariff agreement helps to narrow this gap.
Mm-hmm. So from Taiwan's point of view, that's probably most important that the Taiwanese government needs to deliver for its people, right? It's 15%.
Yes, that is important for the government to make this deal with U.S. because if Taiwan's tariff rate is higher than Japan and Korea, that will, especially the traditional industry,
they will be hurt.
They will be hurt a lot.
Yeah.
And hard to survive.
Right.
The third point is because at the AI era, the customer demand is super strong. But Taiwan face power constraint and also the rising risk of geopolitics, especially the Taiwan Strait. So the overseas expansion is necessary to meet the customer's demand and to diversify the risk.
Okay. And how about companies? How do they think about this investment deal? I have heard many companies have been thinking about or have actually set up entities in the United States. What are they thinking? I mean, they must think that there's some opportunity here.
The main goal of the company is making profit. So that is important. So every company want to set up the factory in US, they need to think about how to make profit. In the past, Taiwanese companies are mainly focused on ODM, OEM work, but the margin is really
very thin.
low, very thin, right? So like iPhone assembling, the margin of iPhone assembly is less than 3%. So this model doesn't work in the AI era anymore. Today's supply chain is split to two different supply chains. Democracy supply chain leading from US and rest supply chain really from China. So Taiwan's role is shifting. Taiwan is become because like TSMC or semiconductor industry, Taiwan has become a trust partner in the democracy supply chain. So in not just semiconductor, but also the precision manufacturing or dual use and defense related technology. So this is the chance of Taiwan to transfer from the ODM, OEM model to a higher value chain and in the democracy supply chain. There's two examples. Taiwan is participating Plex Silicon announcement and become one of the participants.
So that is the State Department's initiative that basically wants to bring democratic allies together to ensure the security of the supply chain of semiconductors.
Yeah, I think the security and the trust is the most important. Taiwan should move from the cost-driven manufacturing to value-driven partnership. The mindset need to be changed.
And that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, that's a good thing because the investment in the USA forced Taiwan's company to think new strategy and to level up their technology and the value.
So based on your conversations with Taiwanese companies, because you just came back from a trip in Texas, right, where you talked to a lot of Taiwanese companies, is that right? And so what did you talk to them about and what are they doing in Texas?
I do a 1-week interview trip to Texas, and the core question I asked them is, how can you survive? First, Arizona is more like a TSMC Science Park. So it's like a semiconductor state in Arizona and its supplier. But Texas is really diverse. They have like Foxconn, Delta, Pegatron, Wistron, and also defense
Tech.
defense tech and dual use industry there. So it's really diverse. But TSMC have a very high margin. In Taiwan, their gross margin 60%. But in Arizona, their gross margin is only 10%. Okay, for example, Foxconn, the AI server assembling gross margin is 10% in Asia. So how can they survive? If the operation expense of the company rise above roughly 45 to 50%, many companies are hard to survive. So the goal is how to decrease the operation expense and increase the automation level.
So does that mean using more robotics?
Yes, robotics and high quality sensor and how to build up AI factory. That is the challenge of all the Taiwanese company, especially the companies set up their factory in Texas. But I will see that will be a good thing because back to what I had mentioned, that is a chance for Taiwanese company to level up their technology.
Do you think that's possible given the technology advancement? And also, do they have enough clients?
I think most of the Taiwanese company that set up the factory in US is because of customers' demand.
So all of them already have customers here. So they're just moving their operation from Taiwan to here, but probably just part of the operation, right?
I think different company move different manufacturing line to US. In 1980, like 100% Taiwanese companies set up their factory in China. After China's labor cost increase, it's around 2010, some of the Taiwanese company tried to move part of their factory out of China and set up the factory in Vietnam, Malaysia. And after COVID, the companies tried multi-place. We call it like this, not just China plus one and also China plus N. You could say from India, Vietnam, Singapore, Malaysia, Mexico, there's different sites of Taiwanese company that set up a factory. We call regional manufacturing. And now US will become the biggest site of Taiwanese company set up their factory. So Taiwanese company not just move their factory to US, but around the world, like you just become the biggest site.
Obviously, diversification away from mainland China makes a lot of sense. But for those Taiwanese companies, how do they evaluate cost benefit? Or they're only relocating the part that's most relevant to the US. Like you said, they already have US customers, so they move that part to the US. Partially is to avoid tariffs. Is that right?
Yeah. Avoid tariff is one of the reasons, but the real reason is very simple. It's customers' demand. It's very simple. Why Foxconn moved 30% capacity to India? Because customers' demand. So if your customer, especially your main customer, ask you should set up like 30% manufacturing capacity in one of the specific country, we should do that because we need to serve our customer.
Yeah, you have previously said that, Taiwan must shift from made in Taiwan to made with Taiwan kind of mindset. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Today's supply chain, we not just talk about the margin, we also talk about trust to help US to keep leading the AI era. That is very important. And secondly, Taiwan will be a real partner with US in not just co-manufacturing. We will try to work together and set up the rules. For example, TSMC just worked with SEMI. SEMI is one of the global industry association for semiconductor equipment, materials, and manufacturing. And also they launched a first cybersecurity standard for wafer equipment. So these standards cover operation system, network security, endpoint security, and continuous monitoring. Before, Taiwan just focused on ODM, OEM. work for the brand company. Now we should become a trust partner in the democracy supply chain. The next step is Taiwanese company is trying to help and set up the rule with the global supply chain. That's what I generate this slogan, made in Taiwan to made with Taiwan. That is a strategy for Taiwanese company to move forward and face to the AI era challenge.
It's a great concept, made with Taiwan, and I think that pushes Taiwanese companies to be more out in the front and think about their roles more than just sort of taking the orders, but how can they also help shape a new global trading system related to semiconductors and manufacturing. Do you think, other than the major companies like TSMC, Foxconn, how do other companies feel? Do they want to be more vocal and visible, shaping global rules? Because that's typically not what Taiwanese companies are good at. And then the second question is, most of them also have operations in China. So how do they manage that part?
Yeah, I think, of course, TSMC they have a very strong power, so they can set up the rule, especially in semiconductor field, right? But the other companies like Foxconn, Wistron, Delta, they also do a very important role in AI supply chain, especially AI server, data center, energy, these kind of
Do you have a sense what percentage of the global supply of data centers, those hardwares, are manufactured by those Taiwanese companies? How big of a role are they playing?
60% on AI server assembling by Foxconn, 90% AI server assembling by Taiwanese companies. So
90%, yeah. Is it America or is it global?
Global AI server. Yeah, that's crazy. So that's why you can see Jensen Huang, why Jensen always came to Taiwan and meet with their business partner. And he also always emphasized, without Taiwan, NVIDIA cannot success and cannot build their business. Because not just semiconductor, but all the hardware ecosystem is built from Taiwan supply chain. Taiwan have very good manufacturing skills, mass production skills.
So it is really, broadly speaking, what I call it a new manufacturing sector, right? It's beyond semiconductors. It sounds like it's a huge opportunity for Taiwanese companies. There's obviously additional costs of doing business in the United States, but the pivot to higher value chain gives them the opportunity to play an even more important role. I want to come back to the China part. How are they managing their operations in China these days?
This company already moved part of their business or operation out of China from 2010. So,
and what prompted them to start moving? Was it primarily labor costs, or there are also other reasons?
There are three main reasons. Labor cost is the first. The companies want to make the profit. So they are very focused on the cost. And the second is the increased risk of the Taiwan Strait. And the third one is the unstable policy or politics in domestic mainland China. If you want to talk about the fourth reason, is customers' request.
Customers are not Chinese customers, right?
Most of them are U.S. customers. The customers is because they know the three risk: labor costs, the risk of Taiwan Strait, and also the unstable politics. So they ask their supplier to relocate.
And it sounds like if the world continues to bifurcate in this democratic ally bloc and the other maybe more China-centered manufacturing bloc, Taiwan is becoming a competitor to China when it comes to manufacturing. Is that right? Is that a fair comparison, or should we think about Taiwan in a different way?
Policies change, just I mentioned, China plus one, China plus N. And now we call it one world, two system. There's still a lot of Taiwanese factory in China, but the product they fabricate just provide to the China market. So the factory in India or the factory in Southeast Asia, or even in the future, this factory in US, they will provide for non-China customers. So every Taiwanese company should have two different manufacturing system or manufacturing lines. One is China center. One is non-China center.
So the US is not a separate one.
I think US is one of the main manufacturing sites, the biggest market too. Taiwanese company, they should maintain part of their factory and profit in China, but they will set up a new factory in US. It is not like if I move the factory in US and I give up all the factory in China. It's not like this.
You have said that a lot of them diversified away from mainland China a decade ago. What's the reason to still maintain some in China?
I think it's a business reality because the factory there invests, Taiwanese company invests a lot in China. You cannot move the business out of China just like clip a finger because China's still a very big market. Move like from 20% to 30% and to 60%, and we keep 40% factory in China to provide China domestic consumer or customers need. That is the strategy of Taiwanese company.
I want to come back to the companies in the US right now. Are you seeing new opportunities for those Taiwanese companies in addition to just servicing their existing clients?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of new opportunities, especially after tariff agreement. That is like a signal, a green light signal for US and Taiwan. There's a very important condition or deal in the tariff agreement is there's two-way investment. For example, the defense tech is very important.
What are the opportunities there? Why is there so much demand for defense tech right now?
In the past, defense tech is very sensitive, and there's some certificate you should like get. Like ITAR is one of the most important military.
That is issued by
U.S. certificate, military certificate. So if there's no green light on the federal level, the company is not like able to invest, or that Taiwanese company invest in the U.S. military industry. So this two-way investment, especially in defense tech, is because the tariff agreement and there's two-way investment deal.
So what are some of the defense tech that you're seeing? What kind of companies are you seeing?
Especially drones.
Mm-hmm.
Especially drone is one of the biggest new opportunities for U.S. and Taiwan, not just U.S.
I saw that Taiwan has created a drone center. Government is also supporting this industry, partially for its own national security, right? So it does want to have a strong drone manufacturing capability in Taiwan instead of relying on others.
Yes, correct. So because the increased risk of the Taiwan Strait, so Taiwanese government is happy to invest in defense tech and cooperate with U.S. government and U.S. companies.
What are the other incentives for the defense tech industry in the United States to collaborate with Taiwan?
Defense tech is hardware, right? Hardware and software integration. So back to the supply chain. The biggest manufacturer of drone is one of the mainland China company, right? But
is that DJI?
Yeah, correct. DJI. So it's not possible for the U.S. military company to let DJI to fabricate their drones, right? And Taiwan have the same manufacturing capability in China. So Taiwan will be the first choice that U.S. companies to fabricate the drones. So that is a new opportunity, but not just defense tech, but also like robotics and the other hardware like AI server, because the democracy value of Taiwan. So Taiwan will become more important for U.S. and the two-side cooperation will be stronger in the future, I believe.
Obviously, there's a lot of trust between the two, and that's why there's so much collaboration even in the sensitive areas like defense, but they're still not the same. So are there other concerns either country should have when it comes to national security with regards to each other? I asked that question because Taiwan has concerns about trade secrets or core critical technologies being leaked or transferred, stolen by other places. Are we seeing that concern between US and Taiwan?
Okay, I think the Taiwan firewall, technology firewall system exists, but it's not complete. There's three different pillar or layer of Taiwan tech protection law. The first is trade secret. It's focused on private sector's know-how protection. And the second is national security law, is to protect Taiwan's core and critical technology. Third pillar is investment review by the Investment Commission, similar to CFIUS of US. Most of the Taiwanese tech protect system is trying to against China, only China, because Taiwanese companies set up most of their business in China. But recently, one of the very famous cases, the Japan company, semiconductor companies, stole the 2-nanometer know-how of TSMC. So I think the Taiwanese companies or government should change their mindset. We are not just to defense for a single country. We should set up a comprehensive firewall. It's move from the country-based thought to the risk-based control. We should find out and focus on what is the most important key technology for Taiwan and protect these key technology and set up a comprehensive firewall.
How do you do that? Let's say TSMC's fab in Arizona is now manufacturing 2-nanometer chips. And since it's manufactured on the US soil, how do you build a firewall?
From the legal perspective, you should have the regulation and legal framework first. And then we talk about the classification and or exception. US agreed TSMC's 2-nanometer technology can be stolen by Korea, by Japan, or by other country, right? Because US Taiwan is a very close partner. So we should set up this first. But when we talk about US Taiwan cooperation or investment, we should give an exception or classification of the technology.
What is the reason that the US should be treated differently?
You should do a trade-off between US and Taiwan. What kind of cooperation or exception is most benefit for Taiwan? Back to the reality. Taiwan have no window to refuse US requests, but at the same time, we still need to protect ourselves from the other countries to steal our technology.
So you're essentially arguing that regardless, let's build the firewall first and then make exceptions to the United States in particular because of the special relationship Taiwan has with the United States, but not with any other countries. Those technologies are owned by the companies, right? Not by the countries. So let's say some company may have 2 or 3 competitors in Taiwan as well. They're all Taiwanese companies. I'm trying to understand, how do you think about the technology firewall?
I just mentioned there are 3 different legal frameworks: trade secret law, national security law, and the investment commission. So from the trade secret law level, the law only protect the private sector's know-how. So the technology is really broad. But from the national security law level, from Taiwanese government level, they need to identify what is the most important technology for Taiwan and listed them critical technology for Taiwan national security. Currently, Taiwan have 33 core key technology listed by the NSTC, National Science
Technology Council.
But the definition is really broad, so hard to do compliance. Different department of the governance key technology definition is not aligned. For example, the NSTC's core and critical technology definition and the court definition is not aligned. And also, NSTC's definition is not aligned with the investment commission. So that is very important to align them and build up a comprehensive firewall and do adjustment to our key partners.
With so much interesting developments in both the technology world as well as in the world order, Taiwan seems to be in a pretty good place if it knows how to leverage its own technology prowess. Do you see any downside? What are the things that you worry about Taiwan may be vulnerable or losing its advantages?
For the big picture is Taiwan cannot just have TSMC. Taiwan
Yes,
should build up
I think
the
we
new
all
industry.
agree.
We should have a biotech industry or military or defense tech industry. We should build or cultivate new industry. From the current situation, the biggest worry is AI bubble because TSMC invests a lot or other Taiwanese companies invest a lot in US because the customer's strong demand. And customers' demand come from the AI market and technology is growing. If AI become a bubble and the demand decrease a lot, and from the business perspective, that will make a huge burden of this capital investment.
Taiwan kind of is betting on the future of AI, right? Because it's created this term AI island is what Taiwan wants to become. The government is sweating on the boom of AI already.
Yes. So that is very important for all the Taiwan industry to diversify. Not just AI, we should do drones, robots, and other like the aerospace. The other, we should expand our industry.
But does Taiwan have enough to offer? Whether it's the talent pipeline, it's not very easy to just create a business and do business there because it's so bureaucratic. So the governance is also an issue. The financial market is not as open. So there are lots of challenges. Do you have a sense that Taiwan, at least the government is trying to address some of the challenges? So it can truly become, I think Taiwan wants to be the AI hub in the world.
Yeah, I think there's always challenges, right? The problem is not challenge, it's how to come over the challenge. What's the strategy to face the future challenge? So I think Taiwan government is already aware Taiwan should not only have semiconductor industry. So you see the recent government's announcement, they're trying to invest in biotech and trying to cooperate with US defense tech and manufacturing robots and dual-use robots, dual-use drones. I think it's a good thing.
We just saw the recent number that Taiwan's GDP growth in 2025 was 8.6%. That's very, very impressive over the last few decades. I don't think Taiwan has had that kind of growth. Do you think this kind of growth will continue? What else needs to take place to sustain this kind of growth?
I think in the 2 or 3 years, a growth will continue because this growth is based on the AI industry. Also, if you compare to the other country in Asia, in 2025, Singapore's is 4.8%, and Hong Kong is 3.5%. Korea is 1%, and Japan is also 1%. So compared to the other country in Asia, Taiwan doing good. And I think if the AI demand and the customers' AI industry is still growing, Taiwan's GDP will still increase.
Well, with that, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. I think it's a very, very critical and exciting moment for Taiwan. So the question is whether Taiwan can seize the moment and really, hopefully, take off on a whole new level.
Thank you.
Can you actually survive and upgrade in a high-cost world? Wesley Chu reminded us that geopolitics, tariffs, and AI island slogans all land on this very hard question for Taiwanese companies. As Taiwan rides an AI-powered growth wave and deepens manufacturing ties with the US, from AI servers and robots to drones and defense tech, Wesley implores Taiwan to build a real technology firewall, to broaden beyond semiconductors, and seize this moment to become a true silicon and AI hub, not a temporary silicon shield. This is Perspectives with Wenchi Yu, where we analyze the policies and political strategies of Trump 2.0 and their implications for Asia, China, Taiwan, and beyond. Thank you for watching and listening. We value your feedback. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and podcast. See you next time.